All right, y'all. So now the fun part starts. So let's hop in. So I'm going to go quickly through the different math formulas and functions that are used pretty commonly. So we're going to cover how to use things. So we already covered the sum function. So now we're going to cover things like count, average, min, max, and then a quick look at standard deviation. So let's say the question we want to answer is how many total medals have been won over the past years? So this is easy. So we know this. We can do a sum of here to Command Shift up, and then there we go. So that selected everything above us. As we can see, if we double click this, it selected this entire range, J2 down to J300. So that is the sum. Now, what if we wanted to, let's say, average? Like, what is the average number of medals that a company won? So let's see how we construct this formula. So numerical, so you hit the average. What is the numerical average in a data set? So what did the average athlete, how many medals did the average athlete win? So again, we'll do J300 to J2. And it turns out the answer is 3. And now if we expand the decimals here, since it's an average, it looks like the average athlete wins 2.7 medals. So in our data set, the average athlete to have medaled in the past 15 years won 2.7 medals. So now what if we wanted to see the max? So who won the most medals out of our data set? Again, so we select the function. So we say, out of this data set, equal sign max. So what is the max? What is the highest value out of the entire data set we're going to pass in? And the answer is 8. So we know that's our boy Michael Phelps has won the maximum number, 8 medals. Now what about the min? What is the minimum number of medals that someone in this data set has won? What is the minimum value in the data that we're passing in here? So again, we say the minimum number of all values between J2 for the range J2 and J300. And that answer is 2. And if we expand the decimals, since it's not an average, it's just picking out the minimum, you can see there's no decimal points. Lastly, let's cover the count function. So this will count how many numeric values are in a data set. So what that means is you want to get, let's say we wanted to know how many values are in, let's do the same data set. So the count, let's do J2 to J300. Before I hit enter, what do you all think that this function does? So what do you think is going to come back here? Just take a second, answer that internally, and then voila. So what you can see there is that is telling us not about the number within each of these cells, but it's just telling us how many data points are in the data that we just passed it. So it may seem stupid, like, oh, clearly I can subtract 1 from 300 and I know how many came about here. But where this comes in handy is when you don't have a simple count. So let's say we wanted to get 267 to 288. A little bit harder math, and you can see, oh, that's 22 values. What if we wanted to count instead of the data we passed in? What if we wanted to count the number of numeric values in this set? That's an array, so we can't do that actually. But here, what if we wanted to do? Let's see. There we go. So I messed up the formula the first time, but if you want, you can count, how many individual values are within these two columns. That is a really, really cool trick because it allows you to take large sets of data and see how many data points you're working with in a very, very quick fashion. So I hope you're getting the hang of some of these formulas so you can see, you know how to start typing a formula, so equals count. You can see what that formula is going to do. type in a data range, close the parentheses, hit enter, and boom. We now have an idea of, we now know how many numeric values are in this range that we just passed. So those are the math functions. Next, we're going to move on into logical functions that you can do some really cool stuff with, like if and true, false, all these other operators. So hang tight. That'll be the next lecture.